Do you ever feel like you just ran an entire marathon just to get out the door for work every morning, especially if you have kids? A chaotic morning is one of the top reasons for stress throughout the day for you as a working mom. And research has recently shown that a consistent routine, especially a consistent morning routine, can actually help you slash your stress by up to 30%. And I don't know about you, but if you are anything like me, if there is something out there that can reduce my stress load, I am going to do it. So today we are uncovering what's really stealing your time in the morning, and then three super simple shifts that you can make right now to fix that so that you can reduce that stress load. Now, before we jump in, I'm really excited to share this because I want to encourage you to sign up for my brand new free workshop, Master Your Morning Routine. This live workshop is happening on Monday, September 8th. So get it on your calendar now before all of the back to school craziness takes over. And this workshop is going to give you the framework and the tools to start feeling calm and connected again with your morning routine. So calm for you as the working mom and connected with yourself, your family, and your spouse in the mornings again. So head to theloradavis.com/morning to grab your seat, and I cannot wait to see you there. All right, let's dive into today's episode. So here's what you're going to get in the next 12-ish minutes. We're going to talk about the night before prep reset. We're going to talk about your personal anchor moments. And we're also going to talk about a flow rhythm ritual and how that works. And that doesn't really require necessarily you to have like a super rigid, overly structured day, right? So let's dig into this. Now, I want to tell you a story first that I was thinking about recently when it comes to like evaluating your morning routine and looking at your morning routine. And I want to tell you this story about back when I worked at my last job. I worked for a really large healthcare organization here in Florida, and I was remote most days of the week. And this was even before and after the pandemic. But every Tuesday was a guaranteed in office day. And I used to joke and I would call it my marathon Tuesdays because I knew that I had to get Harper ready, get Ava ready, my stepdaughter. I had to get myself ready to be in the office for the day. I then had to drop Harper off at daycare. I had to drop Ava off at her school, which were not in the same place. And then I had to continue my commute into the office, walk from employee parking through the hospital and up to the third floor where my office was. And I'll be honest, I'm tired just talking about what I used to do in the mornings. And that was a normal routine for me every Tuesday. And quite frankly, for a long time, that was every day for me, not just Tuesdays. And it was so stressful because I would feel absolutely exhausted, not only by the time I got in the car to leave the house to get to work, but by the time I sat down in my office, I was like, I literally have just ran a marathon to get here, right? I didn't even have really Sunday scaries. I actually had Monday scaries because I knew what was coming on Tuesdays. And, Zach helped me for sure. Like, he helped a ton. We would split who's getting who ready, who would make sure that, like, each of the kids are fed. He is truly like an absolute team player when it comes to sharing the mental load and sharing the tasks and everything. But I was still the one running the marathon, right? He was like the runner support system. If you think about a marathoner, he's the one who is making sure that the runner had water, that the runner had those goo packs. I'm not a runner, but I'm pretty sure they're called goo packs. That, the runner has the cool towels and the emotional and the mental support, but he was still not the actual marathoner, right? And he's an absolutely amazing partner. And like I said, we split things very fairly. But there is still just something different about being the marathoner who is trying to get out the door for work. And there's something different when you're the mom because you're more likely to be that marathoner, right? Who's trying to get out the door. And now, listen, I now work 100% remote. And honestly, those Tuesdays were a big reason why I decided to transition corporate jobs to a fully remote position. But even if you work from home, if you're a working mom, you still have that same marathon. It might be a different type of marathon, but you're still running a morning marathon, right? So this was super interesting when I read it. It says the University of Bath research says that moms manage 71% of mental load tasks, from home organization to school schedules to other things. And that mental load is almost like wearing a weighted vest while running your marathon, right? So even if you have a super supportive partner who is in it with you and is holding some of that mental load for you, as the mom, you are still holding a ton of that mental load. And it feels almost like a weighted vest while you're running the marathon. I know that weighted vests are super popular right now. They're like really trendy while you're out walking, but just imagine trying to run a marathon in a weighted vest. So I want to give you a couple of true actionable tips for how you can start to create a morning routine that you are going to be able to feel calm about, that you're going to be able to feel happy about, that you're going to be able to feel connected with, right? Because your morning routine, that is the very first thing that you're starting with. That is literally how you're kicking off your day. So I want to give you a couple of tips on how to really start to create and curate your mornings to be more enjoyable for you, right? Instead of having that ultra rigorous experience that feels like a marathon, let's start to curate your mornings so that you feel really good about them. So the first tip is prepping the night before. And listen, I know that a lot of people say this. They're like, lay out your clothes the night before. I want you to hear something really quick. Preparing tonight means peaceful tomorrow. Okay. Preparing tonight means peaceful tomorrow. So another way to think about this is, what is your future self going to thank you for you preparing for them? Okay. So you are preparing tonight so that you can have a peaceful tomorrow. Now, what's really interesting is that Neuroscience News shared a study about monitoring cortisol and found that unpredictability heightens stress responses in working moms. Okay, so I want you to just listen to this again. There is a scientific study that talks about cortisol and found that unpredictability heightens a stress response in a working mom. So by making your mornings as predictable as possible, you're actually going to lower your stress in the mornings, and then it's going to continue to stay lower throughout the day. Because once you have that cortisol spike, it's a lot harder to bring it back down as you're going throughout your day. Now, as working moms, we know that we cannot get rid of all of the curveballs that get thrown at us, especially in the mornings, right? But we can be as intentionally prepared as possible, okay? So preparing the night before, whatever that looks like for you, is going to be a peaceful tomorrow. Now, tip number 2 is having a personal anchor moment. And we have talked about these anchor moments a lot this summer, and for really good reason, because when you hear the term anchor, you may immediately think of a boat anchor, right? So let's dive into that. Let's talk about what the word anchor actually means. And the word anchor has several meanings, but there are a couple that I personally really like. One is to secure firmly in position. Now, another definition that I also really like is to provide with a firm basis or foundation. So your anchor moment is designed to provide you with a foundation for your day. What is an activity that you know is going to make your day better? For me, that is a sunrise walk. If you follow me on Instagram, you have seen that 90% of the time I am out taking a walk at sunrise, right? And I know that that daily anchor is going to significantly increase the likelihood of me having a good day than if I don't do it, right? Even when I wake up on the wrong side of the bed and not in a great mood, and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is go hear these happy birds out here chirping and go look at a beautiful sunrise because I just want to like sit in the loathing bad mood, right? Have you ever been there, especially in your luteal phase? Even then, I still say, you know what? My anchor moment is my sunrise walk, and I need to get out of the house into fresh air. And I know I'm going to have a better day if I can just stick to that anchor moment. So, what is that anchor moment for you? Now, one of my clients, she actually reads while drinking her coffee in her favorite chair that's in this like little nook that she has between her dining room and her living room. And it's super cute. She has set it up specifically for to have as an anchor moment in her mornings where she can drink her coffee hot and she can read a book, which she loves doing, and she can do it in a space that she has curated to specifically allow her to have those moments to herself in the morning. And so your anchor moment should be for you, not for anyone else. Now, tip number 3 is having a flow rhythm, right? And I'm going to tell you another way to think about this. But one of the principles inside of Time Management Academy is that structure actually creates flexibility. And that is truer than true for morning routines. Can I get an amen? So when you're mapping out what your morning routine will look like, I want to encourage you to think of it more as a flow or a rhythm instead of a strict step-by-step process. Okay. Now, that may have just like kind of pinged at your brain a little bit because you probably thought I was going to say the opposite, right? But I want to dig into this a little bit more. Many people think that when I say structure, that they need to time block their morning routine in 15 increments. But in reality, if you can create a general flow, you're going to have just enough structure to be successful and plenty of flexibility to be able to handle those inevitable curveballs that come with being a working mom. And so, you know, I'll give you an example for what I mean by having this flow instead of an overly structured morning routine. So my morning routine right now, it spans about 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And in those 3 hours, I have a couple of big goals that I want to accomplish. I want to go for a sunrise walk. I want to spend a few very intentional moments connecting with Harper and Zach. I also want to get ready for the day. I want to look nice. That's an important thing to me. And then I also want to have time to work on Time Management Academy. Because I still work full time, I need that early morning time to be able to get a few things done. So those are my primary goals. Now, whatever that might look like in the morning, those specific times that those things get done may shift. But what I've done is in my calendar, I actually put how long I think each of those things are going to take. And I try to aim for those generalized buckets of time for each of those items. Okay. Now, I want to talk. So those are the three points, but I want to talk about how morning routines are scientifically proven, okay, to enhance focus, productivity, and emotional well-being. They also help reduce decision fatigue by minimizing trivial morning decisions that you have to make. And routines are also freeing up mental energy for more important tasks later in the day. So, you know, in my opinion, this is kind of another analogy for you. In my opinion, a morning routine is for working moms the way that Steve Jobs used to only wear black t-shirts. That's kind of like a known thing among Steve Jobs and like Jeff Bezos and several of those high-powered men, is that they would just wear the same thing every day. So they did not have to make that decision of what to wear each day. To me, that is a mom's morning routine. Having an established morning routine helps decrease the amount of decisions that you have to make, and therefore opens up more brain capacity for you to make more important decisions later on throughout the day. And I don't know about you, but if something is scientifically proven to help lower the amount of decisions that I have to make every day, count me in. Count me in. If I don't have to make as many decisions, I will do whatever it is that you tell me to do. Okay. So listen, if this resonated with you, if you're like, yes, I now need a new morning routine and I need it right now, there are so many strategies that I'm actually going to share with you inside of Master Your Morning Routine workshop that is happening on September 8th. So I want you to click the link below in the episode description or go to thelauraddavis.com/morning. And during this workshop, you are going to get all of my best secrets for building a morning routine that actually works and that you actually get to enjoy. I have been studying and perfecting how to build a routine for the last 8 years, and you get all of that knowledge in this workshop. And I cannot wait to see your beautiful face there. So whether you listen to this episode while you were getting ready for the day, during your commute to work, or while you were out on your sunrise morning walk, you are going to be able to implement what you learned in this episode right now, which is so awesome for you. So I can't wait to hear how you applied this, and I will see you in the next episode.